Welcome back to Joe's Summer Boxing. I hope you had a good weekend. Mine's been all right, and we've had some good boxing on over the last 48 hours. And for me, the high point of this weekend's boxing was the Spanish card on DAZN, which occurred on Friday evening. Yeah, I think it was on about 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. That sort of period, that late into the late evening. Very, very good card, and it got me thinking. Watching it on DAZN, it got me thinking about the DAZN commentary team, not just the commentators but the presenters. Now they get a lot of flack from a lot of people, but I don't think they're as bad as some people say. Not that they really set me alight, but I think there's a lot of good there as well as a lot of sort of meh sort of stuff. And I think the good outweighs the bad on DAZN. And so I thought I'd go through the commentary team and then sort of discuss, well, what do we want out of a commentary team? Let's have a look at that as well. But so as far as DAZN are concerned, you've got well, let's start with someone I think who's a real find, although those of us who've seen him on YouTube will not be surprised that he's translated so well to broadcasting, and that's Adi Oladipo, who first time I saw Adi was on Box Talk with his friend Ryan. That was 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Really, really good. And then that died, sort of petered out. I think Ryan packed it in, so Adi sort of went solo, if you like. Had his own YouTube channel, lots of subscribers. But on DAZN, he is really, really excellent. His personality is very gregarious. He talks in a very articulate way and of quite a friendly. He comes across to me very friendly, very likable. Doesn't talk nonsense, doesn't over talk, doesn't bunny on all the time. And I just think he's really, really good. It's as simple as that. I just think he's built for television, if you like. So I think he'll be around for a long, long time. When DAZN started, Adi and I think it was Tony Bellew used to do a few sort of behind the scenes things where they chat to fighters and talk about fights and so on. And now he's on the Friday gig. The Spanish one that I mentioned earlier, which was if you've got a DAZN, go and watch that Spanish card if you ain't watched it, 'cause it's really good. There's something for everyone in that. Adi sort of took the main reins, if you like, and was, he was the one sort of leading the commentary team, if you like, main presenter, and he was very, very good. And talking of people that are very, very good, let's talk about Andy Lee, because I think as an analyst, sitting next to the main commentator, he's extremely good, knows the sport, clearly, very, very knowledgeable about the sport. Former WBO middleweight champ, so he's been there and done it. When I'm watching a fight, obviously I know, because I've been a boxing fan for decades, I more or less know what I'm looking at. But if there's an analyst there, I want him to point bits out that I might have missed, or to say, very often I'm sitting there and I listen, and Andy Lee will say something, and I think, oh yeah, that's a good way of putting it, or maybe I didn't know. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that. That type of input. That's what you need from an analyst. And Andy Lee is very understated, says it like it is, says it very, very clearly, very articulate. Again, there's no ego involved. He's not over talking. He's not bunnying on inanely, like some we could mention. So I really like Andy Lee. I think he's very, very good. Now, the main commentator is Mike Costello, and those of us who remember Mike from 5 Live and all his radio work, the majority of us will say he was a very, very good radio commentator, very, very good indeed. But radio commentator is different to TV commentating. Televisual commentary is very, very different from doing it on the radio. On the radio, you have to paint a picture from scratch. You can't see anything. You've got to inform the listener exactly what's happening, go into it in depth, and make sure everybody understands fully what is happening. That is very different from TV commentary, because we can obviously see what's happening, and the purpose, I've always thought, of a head commentator is to colour in what you're seeing, to enhance it, if you like. And Mike, I think, as much as I loved him on radio, there has been that transitional period. I think he's getting better as a televisual commentator. I think he'd done some work before. And by the way, mentioned going back to Addy, I think he worked for Fox, did some boxing commentary for Fox in Africa. So not as a commentator, but as an analyst, I believe. I remember watching him a few times. Anyway, as far as Mike Costello is concerned, some people say that they don't like his voice. I don't mind it, but I do think that he hasn't translated onto TV yet quite as well as some of us would have hoped, because I did really like him on the radio. He's not bad, don't get me wrong, he's not bad. He's just, for a head commentator, you need a bit of a personality. You don't need to, I'm not talking about ego, I'm not talking about, the constant hyperbole of a Steve Bunce or someone like that, which I really don't like at all. But you need to at least have a certain presence that draws people in. And Mike, I don't think yet has done that on DAZN, but I don't mind him. His commentary's okay. It's okay. Then you've got Laura Woods, who is, I guess you'd call her a host, if you like. I hope she hosts the show. And I think she's really, really good. I much prefer her to Sky's Anna Woolhouse. Not that Anna's bad, but I just think Laura Woods comes across as being a real, again, I'm going to use that word, presence, someone who can really, she's like an anchor woman, if you like. She's in charge. She's the mate. She's like the first port of call. She's the one that introduces the show, interviews the analysts, and I think she does it extremely well. I think she understands boxing, to a reasonable degree. She gives that impression anyway. No problem with Laura Woods at all. I think she's very, very good indeed. And comes across as being a nice person as well. Again, personality matters on television. And then you've got Darren Barker. Now, Darren Barker, he gets a lot of flack. I've heard a lot of people slag him off, but I don't mind him at all. I think he's all right. I mean, I don't sit there listening to him and think, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. On the contrary, he does know what he's talking about. He talks a lot of sense most of the time. But he's not like Addy, very, very, it was a big personality. Darren is more sort of a bit more understated. I don't mind that. I really don't mind that at all as a sort of counter, if you like, to an Addy or a Tony Bellew, who we'll talk about in a minute. I think Darren Barker's all right. And then you've got Chris Lloyd, who's another one. I think when DAZN started, they tried to sort of pair Darren and Chris Lloyd as a sort of boxing Ant and Dec or whatever. I don't know about that, but Chris Lloyd, again, not a really outgoing character, but he seems fine to me, and he talks a lot of sense. I don't sit there thinking, oh, what does this guy know? How did this guy get on telly? And I do with some of them, but not with Chris Lloyd. I think he understands the game. I think he mentions it. He mentions things that make me think, and that's what I want from anyone, from any presenter, from any commentator. I want them to make me think. Oh yeah, okay, because that enhances your enjoyment of what you're watching. Now, while you've got the understated Darren Barker and Chris Lloyd, on the other end of the scale, you've got Tony Bellew, who is a big character and adds that little bit of possible controversy, if you like. Has that image and that reputation for saying it as it is, or however you want to phrase it, for being a little bit spicy, if you like. And he is a Marmite character. And there are times in the past, certainly when he was on Sky, when I listened to him and think, what on earth are you talking about? I just don't agree with that. And there were times certainly when he was at Sky, where he was like at ringside cheering his mates on who were in the ring. You shouldn't really be working for a company if you're because objectivity does matter. But then I think you get objectivity in the DAZN team from Andy Lee, Darren Barker and Chris Lloyd. Maybe you need a Bellew to sort of, cause a bit of a commotion. Some people have said to me they would prefer David Haye or Carl Froch. And I wouldn't, because I find Haye a bit too full on, and I find Froch a little bit dull. Bellew, I don't always agree with what he says. It's sort of, I'm kind of ambivalent in some respects, but I think he's getting better. When I've heard him speak about, post-fight, I think he's spoken a lot of sense. So yeah, I ain't got a problem with him really, to be honest with you. So I think the DAZN team are a lot better than some people are giving them credit for. And I think a lot of the criticism came from Eddie Hearn's, promises that they were going to be the best presenters ever, and they were comedy team, a game changed, and commentary team out of this world. We're going to have the absolute best. And then it basically brought his mates over from Sky, Bellew, Darren Barker. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if they do the job. And as far as I'm concerned, they do the job. But I think the criticism comes from Eddie Hearn, trumpeting the whole thing a bit too much and sort of setting them up to fail almost. But the question is, the other reason I'm doing this video is I wanted to ask you, let's consider, what do you want out of a comedy? I keep saying commentary team. What do you want? Maybe that's a Freudian slip. And I'm thinking, because some of these commentators are comedians, but what do you want out of a commentary team? Do you want someone who is, very in your face, very controversial, a definite blowhard like a Steve Bunce? Or do you want someone who's more understated? Or do you want someone who's in the middle? Because, Malignaggi is a big character. But when he was on Sky, it wasn't like he talked drivel. It wasn't like he was constantly reaching for some sort of hyperbole like Steve Bunce does. As you may have gathered, I'm not keen on Steve Bunce. But Malignaggi had that balance right. I think that's why he's so good he's such a good broadcaster, because he does have a very big personality, but he is objective and he talks like an adult, which some of them don't. Some of them talk like bloody kids, as far as I can see or listen to. I prefer the understatement. I don't want someone who's boring, but at the same time, I want someone who's understated, who says the important things clearly, lucidly, vividly, and doesn't, drench it in, bluster and blather, which a lot of commentators do. And I think that's why I probably give the DAZN team a lot more time than other people do, because some of them are quite understated, and maybe they need don't get me wrong, bring on Malignaggi, great. I like Barry Jones, who's just a little bald guy, but he talks a lot of sense. A lot of people say Barry Jones is boring, but I think he talks a lot of sense. I want people that know the game, that talk a lot, that add to my viewing experience. And I ain't got a problem with the DAZN team, to be honest with you. I think they're probably better than the Sky lot. But anyway, what do you think? What do you look for in a commentator? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? That's fine if you disagree. I ain't got a problem with that at all. But leave your comments below. Have a think about it. What do you think of the DAZN team? What do you think of the Sky team? I'm not going to go through them as well, but who do you think's got the better team? I know who's got the better cards at the moment. That's DAZN by a long, long way. Because Boxer, and they're still signing people up and building their roster, but Sky, they're putting on some good cards with good undercards as well as good main events. And I think the presenters are okay. I think they're getting better. I think it's gelling okay. It's going to take quite a long time to do so. So let me know your opinion. Leave it below. If you're new to this channel and you could subscribe, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It takes a second to do it. I'd really appreciate that. If you like this video, hit that like button. Share the video if you liked it. Much love to all of you. We got a week ahead. Have we got any boxing next weekend? When is it? Golovkin and Murata. That's coming up, isn't it? Is that next weekend? Oh, I'll check it later. Anyway, all the best to you. Enjoy your week ahead. Take care, and we'll speak again soon. And bye for now.